Welcome to the Floral Shop podcast, where flowers and business blend seamlessly. Join our journey to uncover the secrets of elite event designers and get insights into the art of running a successful floral shop. Here is your host, Ziv Raviv.
Hello and welcome to the Floral Shop podcast. Today with me is Trevor Whalley from Fantasy Florist, a florist shop all the way from the outskirts of Washington, D.C. in Northern Virginia. Hello, Trevor.
Hi, Ziv. How are you?
Good. It's good to have you here. Trevor, you've been dabbling in balloons for years now, and within Fantasy Florist, you actually do weddings, you serve all sorts of occasions, and you even sell bouquets directly on your site. And so I want to ask you, where did you start? Like, how did you get into this colorful industry?
Yeah, colorful indeed. It's kind of a funny story or a different story from, I think, how most people get into the industry. You know, most people, I feel like, that either own a flower shop or become floral designers have either done it because, you know, their family did it. It was like a family business, or because they had a particular fascination with flowers going into it. I wasn't as much of the sort. I was a little bit more stereotypical for a boy my age growing up in the suburbs of Virginia, in that I love playing sports. I was very active, and, you know, I wanted to be an entrepreneur of sorts. So I started in the industry by working as a delivery driver for my previous mentor, who who taught me all the ropes about the floral industry and what he had, you know, learned from it. And really, I saw it as just an opportunity to help out a family friend and to pay my way through community college, in which I was going to school for business. And little by little, I just, you know, I threw myself into it. You know, people would call me a go-getter. So I would just do everything that I could to help him out, whether it was, you know, stocking inventory or processing flowers or taking orders over the phone, and then learning all the names of the flowers and how to take care of them and how pricing worked, and then doing the accounting and the books. So, you know, I kind of learned the business aspect of it while I was learning the floral aspect and like how to take care of the flowers. And eventually I think it was either our first or second Valentine's Day back in 2012 is when I started. So it was either around there or 2013. I was asked to help out with some of the floral arrangements, and I really got thrown into the design aspect of it, but I learned to love it because it has kind of scratched all of the itches of the different things that I like. I like working with my hands. I love nature. And then I love like the business aspect of it too. And I kind of use my mathematical background, because that was like my favorite subject in school, to use like geometry and things and making the designs. And so it kind of used a bunch of areas of my brain that, you know, I like to activate in a way that I never would have thought that I liked. So over the years, I've learned everything about the business, and I love the industry now, and I love being a designer and being a flower shop business owner. I always tell people, if you get into the floral industry, it's because you're passionate about it. You love it. It's not usually about the money, because it's a hard industry to be in, and I think it can be profitable, but I think it starts with having a passion for it and wanting to do something that uplifts people and to make them happy. And I think if you can do that in a successful way, I think then it can become something that's profitable both for you and a fair exchange of services with your client.
So you basically the ideal employee that we would all want to have in our companies, because you're a go-getter. You just would be willing to do anything. And as a result, over the years, you just grew in your skills and in your capabilities. But at what point did you actually make the decision to become the manager? Like, it's not something that you just decide by yourself. There's some sort of a handshake on this brand, deciding to hand it over to you to continue as the manager. So how did that happen?
Yeah, that's a good question, because it definitely didn't just happen overnight, but it did seem like it almost happened just like right away, because my previous mentor, he was, pun intended, planting the seeds for me to become a designer and an owner at some point. Because even the first year I was working for him, he would ask me questions like, do you ever see yourself being a designer? Do you ever see yourself owning a flower shop one day? And I was like, no, I don't think so. Like in the beginning, I was just like, I don't think flowers is like my forte. I was like, I like working here, but like long term, I think I want to do something else. But then little by little, I started opening my eyes and trying to let go of some of the stereotypes I think I had for myself and what I should be doing, and just realizing that I'm here in this moment and that this feels right. So little by little, like I started like being more comfortable in the atmosphere, and he would kind of ask me these sort of questions more frequently and be like, yeah, like, how do you like designing? Like, I'm like, yeah, I think I like it. And like little by little, I was like, yeah, this is something that I like. So I think around the time that I took over the business in 2017, my previous mentor, he was ready to retire. His name is Carlos. I owe much that I know and that I have to him at this point. And he was very patient with me. You know, you said that I'm an ideal employee, but in certain ways, yes, I was great for him. But in certain ways, I thought I knew more than I did. And I was a pretty like hard personality probably to deal with, thinking that I knew everything. And I mean, I was young when I started working for him, and I took over the business when I was 25 years old. So I was still relatively young, still am relatively young. But now I know, like, I don't know anything. Like, I know enough to be dangerous. I know enough to be successful in this, but I also know that there's a lot more to learn. But, you know, around the time when I took over the business, he asked me, he's like, hey, like, I need to retire actually somewhat like quickly. He's like, you know, I have other opportunities and I don't want to be tied down to this area anymore. He's like, I'm going to offer you like a good chance to take over this business. And he's like, there's no one else out there that I would trust with this business like I would trust you. You've been here from the beginning. He was like, you were the first employee here. You've seen it from the beginning and you're like a son to me. So he was like, I'd rather it go to you than go to some other big floral company that just absorbs all of our customers and takes all of our information and then just kind of eats it up and puts it in with the rest of like the commercial business. We wanted to stay true to like a local family business that really like emphasized the customers and the service that we provide. So I think like around that time, I was like ready, like the switch got made for me in 2017 in May, like right before Mother's Day that year. He's like, it's now or never. He's like, you could take it over now or you can do something later. And I was like, you know what? Like, this is a great opportunity. I can't pass it up. So I was like, it took me like a week or two to get back to him to finalize it. But I think within those 2 weeks, I was like, this is it. This is like going to be my life for at least the next 5 to 10 years, you know, running the shop and making it the best thing that I can. So yeah, 2017, that was 7 years ago now, almost to the date, because it was right before Mother's Day. So
when you decided to do this, like you basically now are the only owner of your business?
Yep. I'm a single member LLC, sometimes known as a sole proprietorship in certain tax categories. But I do offer I ended up hiring my mom to manage the front of the company because I knew I needed someone that I could really trust with my customers that we had built and, you know, with the money and the accounting and everything, because I knew I was going to have to manage all of the employees more and have to be lead designer or one of the lead designers, which I actually do have another designer that does the majority of the designs, but both of them, my mom and my designer, Christy, are both actually have a percentage of of the revenue at the end of the year, I give them percents. So even though I'm the sole owner on paper, I want my employees to feel like they have, like, this is their business too. This is not just about me, Trevor Whalley. This is about my mom. This is about my designer. This is about my delivery drivers. This is about my assistants. Like, they're all helping make this service what it is. I can't do it alone. So I think tying them in and making everyone feel like this is a team effort. This is a family. This is a unit that we're working with. We work with each other the majority of the days of the week. So I think that part's been important to me. So
that's very, very noble to do and motivating for I mean, not only your mom, but also for your designer to feel like they're really a part of the success of your business. When you decided to actually go for it in those 2 weeks, I wonder what went through your mind? Did you need to take a loan? Like, how complicated was the process? Talk me through the details of what it felt.
Yeah, that's a great question too, because not everyone is set up at the age of 25 to be able to take over a business, not just maturity-wise, but financially. So I had saved up, I was living at home at the time, as like many people my age and in this area were. So I was able to save up some money working for Carlos for the 5 years before I took over the business. And I think by the time I took over the business, I was getting pretty wise with how I was spending my money. So I had some money saved up, but I mean, honestly, Carlos sold the business for less than I think the market value for it was. And he was willing to take a portion of the money up front and then to take the remainder of what he needed after Mother's Day, after I could see the profits of the holiday, because we both knew, like, after Mother's Day, there's a big influx of money that comes in. And he's like, by the end of May, you can give the rest of it to me. So with the money I had saved up, the money from Mother's Day, and then I took a small loan. My father was actually willing to give me a 1-year interest-free loan to pay off the rest of the money for the business. So within a year's time, we had come up with a payment schedule where I paid him monthly, a set amount. And then by the end of the year, I paid off my debt to my dad and I was completely debt free. So yeah, I definitely had help in taking over the business, both from Carlos and his flexibility and for having my dad and him being able to give me that loan.
In retrospect, now that you've been running the business for 7 years, and that's a lot of responsibility. You're responsible for the success of all of your team members. There are families behind every team member of yours. Some of them are actually family. So what are some lessons that you would give younger Trevor, 25-year-old Trevor, if you were able to, I don't know, send him a message through a time machine of sorts?
I think the main thing is I've had to learn to let go of a lot of things and not be so controlling of it. I think when I took over the business when I was 25, I kind of mentioned it. I thought I knew more than I did, and I thought I knew all of the best ways to do it. And part of it was I didn't want to change too much of Carlos's legacy right away. So I wanted to keep things kind of the same, at least until I had my debt paid off, because I knew that his recipe for success worked. It worked for him, at least. So I was letting his recipe for success work for me for a little bit. But I think what I needed to learn to realize is the main part of being a big, good owner is realizing it's a team effort. And I think at first I thought I was the team. I thought I was the business. I thought the business was successful because of me. But I think what I realize is the true mark of a successful business is sharing a common goal amongst your whole team and being able to echo that goal throughout the community. And for other people to really be able to see it with full transparency without having to be like, why are these people doing what they do? Why do they show up to work? It's no, Fantasy Florist is here because they really believe in sustainability. They believe in supporting the community. They believe in spreading love through the language of flowers. Like that is my sentiment. And so I think really learning that it's about the team and learning how to communicate with that team, not just like having one style of communication. It's like communicating effectively in different ways all the time, because like I have ideas in my head of how I want to run the business, but unless I'm telling that with my team all the time, it's like they don't know how to best do their job, and they don't know, their heart won't fully be in it if they don't understand what they're being a part of. So I think I was maybe afraid of being like fully transparent with them in the beginning, because I thought like, as a business guy, I need to keep my cards close and I need to be very secretive. But I think as long as I was doing the right thing for not just myself, but for everyone, and then the transparency would be a good thing. So I think that's the main thing, is just being like fully transparent and like not letting my ego get too big in the beginning. I think telling myself, hey, you need to relax. You need to communicate with your team and let them help you the best way they know how to.
How significant are weddings or like corporate event decor for your business?
Weddings are very significant, and even more so since post-pandemic, because before the pandemic, we've always been a fully operational florist. We've done everyday designs. We do event work for corporations and for bigger birthday parties and anniversaries when people have guests, but also weddings too. We want to be able to bring flowers into any occasion. So when it comes to weddings and events and larger scale things, it takes a different life and a different strategy than just doing everyday designs, which I like. It takes a lot more planning. There's a lot more moving parts. There's more things you need to think of. And you're like having someone's full vision come to life in a moment, in a whole day. You're helping set the tone. You're helping set the vibe. That love is in the air, and that there's a union of these two people and trying to capture their interests, whether, they're like very outdoorsy or they're more like classic and like that style. So the wedding industry, I'm trying to get into more. I'd never want to give up the everyday designs, because I think it's very important to send flowers for birthdays and anniversaries, to have that constant, like the everyday flowers are sometimes the best flowers, because it's like when people don't expect them to. For big events, people expect the flowers, and we want to be able to do that. So like post-pandemic, things got a lot busier for us. People always ask me like, how did the pandemic affect your business? Like, did things slow down? And honestly, things got better. Like the business was very busy during the pandemic. And I don't mean to take it lightly that I'm happy the pandemic happened, but in terms of my business, it was like we were set up to survive it, and not only survive, but thrive, because I didn't have a store location in a shopping center. I was in like a warehouse industrial park area. So rent was a lot cheaper, and we didn't rely on foot traffic. So when people weren't leaving their homes and going to shopping centers anymore, it didn't impact us, because people don't really find us by going, walking down a shopping center or something. People found us because we have a good presence online. We have really good reviews, and we have in my opinion, a nice website that's easy to navigate and that feels true to who we are. So with all those things, the government never told me, hey, you can't open, like you're not an essential business. And we were keeping our social distancing. I mean, I was living with my mom. So me and my mom and my dad were the three that were working during the pandemic. So we really had no contact with anyone still. Like we were doing contactless deliveries. We were wearing masks when we're doing it. We would leave the flowers at the front doorstep and then go. But then when the pandemic hit, everyone, things were moving fast. So like people started getting engaged and getting married or like doing the courthouse marriage. And then once the pandemic ended, like everyone wanted weddings. And like we had done we do weddings here and there, but we really had so many that it was like almost every weekend we would have one or two weddings like fully booked out. And that's when really, I think our events and our wedding business picked up. And now I'm trying to create a team where it's like we can do weddings and events every single week, every single weekend, and still be able to do our everyday work, the birthdays and anniversaries at the same time. So it's like we basically would have two teams, like an event team and then the everyday team. So long story short, the pandemic really made the wedding and event business a lot more popular with our services. And, it's definitely something we've embraced and we want to move forward and keeping a lot of the wedding and event business.
There's a saying that on certain times of the year, sometimes in the summer, there's like less work for florists.
Yes.
And the summer is coming as we are recording
Yes.
this. So for some people, during the low season of sorts, in order to still secure some more work, they turn into some proactive type of either marketing or advertising. Is that something you've been dabbling with, and what worked for you?
Yeah, I think typically speaking, we take the summer as an opportunity for us to travel, obviously, because we're not able to really spend as much time during like the holidays during Christmas because we're busy as a florist doing the Christmas orders. And so we don't have a lot of time to travel throughout the year. So summer, usually the whole team takes turns traveling, and we still operate every day. We still have some order birthdays, anniversaries, and newborn arrangements and things like that we do. But we do focus more on taking the time for ourselves and to make sure all of our systems and our marketing and everything is in place. So for me, the big thing during the summer is working on the website. The website is always I think it's basically like the front door. It's like the reflection of our business that most people see right away. So I want to make sure that our website is optimized accordingly, where people can navigate it smoothly, and where all of our pictures and our blog posts and all of the content on the website is fresh and it's current and it's reflective of what we're doing in this day. So it's always been important for me not to feel like an FTD company, because we do no wire services. We don't work with any of the large florist networks or chains. We do all of our business directly with our customer, which is something I'm very proud of, but it just means we have a lot less volume than the average flower shop. We don't have to pay a middleman to find business for us or to take an order for us. We want to take the orders ourselves. We want to get what the customer wants, and we want to be able to reflect their sentiment in the best way possible. So part of that is being able to take orders and to start the conversation in our website. So I think one, making sure our website looks really good, and two, making sure that they can find our website through searches on Google, through Instagram, through social media, through the other search engines, Bing, Yahoo, etc. So we make sure we're doing blog posts and that we're changing the content of the website over the summer. So just making sure that that's in place, and then the rest of our systems for taking more business, because we assume that once we make our website better and all these things, that once we get into the fall again, the fall is going to be really busy, that all the work we did over the summer is going to start coming back to us. So we want to make sure if we get busier than we ever have before, that we're ready and that we can grow with the growing demand of our service.
What about the difference in how many people walk in and buy the flowers directly while they're in your shop in comparison to people that buy them on your site? How would you say, where's the percentage for each one?
Yeah, that's a great question. I should have those more exact numbers for those things, because that's a very important metric. I feel like depending on the season and the year, it changes a lot, especially with COVID. But now that things are opened up again, we do see some foot traffic. I would say we get at least a couple walk-ins a day, one or two people walking in the store. and either taking something like right away or just placing the order and coming back or having it delivered. I would say, we maybe get like 2 people like that a day. And then the rest of our orders, they're split. They're both between people ordering directly through our website or calling us and placing the order over the phone, which was kind of through our website because a lot of the people will go to our website first and then call us. But we do prefer that people call us instead of just ordering on the website, because then we can actually talk to them and ask questions that our website can't really do as well. We're trying to make it so our website can kind of ask questions and get all the information we can that we would usually get from the customer over the phone. But there's something more personable about at least being able to talk on the phone. If not, I think encouraging people to come into the store is good too. But if I had to put it out, I would say maybe 10 to 25% are walk-ins. I would say at least 50%, if not 70%, are going to be over the phone. And then I would say we get a little bit more online orders than we do walk-ins. I would say if we get 1 or 2 walk-ins in the day, we might get 2 to 4 online orders that day. And then we'd probably get 6 to 8 phone calls. So it's probably a 20% walk-in, 30% online orders, and then 50% over the phone.
I really enjoy talking with you, Trevor. You really are generous with sharing your point of view, and you've been in this business for a while, growing from the very bottom all the way up to running a successful business. And you care for the success of the people around you. And I just feel very grateful for having you featured on the Floral Shop podcast. I now would be happy to invite you to the Floral Shop game show. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah. Sounds exciting.
So today's prize is a complete redesign in the mock-up sense of your website, where we will take your existing pretty website and create a version of it that is optimized for conversions, so that those 25 or 30% of the people that are buying on your shop directly will manage to get a nice experience and buy more. And even that more people will call you on the overall as a result of your organic reach or whatever you choose to get traffic on, even if it's advertising. So that will be the prize. And we'll start with the first question. What term describes a technique where flowers are attached to a wire and used in a floral design? Is it A, flower fencing, B, petal juggling, C, stem welding, or D, wiring?
I would call it wiring, but I do like stem welding. That sounds fun too.
But you probably need a tool for that, like a stem welder. And you're correct.
Awesome.
It is wiring. Question number 2. Which flower is often associated with the phrase, he loves me not? Is it A, daisy, B, carnation, C, corpse flower, or D, Venus flytrap?
I believe it would be the daisy.
You are correct. It is the daisy. Good job. Question number 3. What is the term for a flowering plant that completes its life cycle in one growing season? Is it A, one-hit wonder, B, annual, C, perennial, or D, short-timer tulip?
Oh, yeah, the plants are not as good for me, but I think it's an annual from my limited experience.
You are correct. I imagine you're doing more flowers than plants, and that's okay. That you did get it right.
I'm trying to be a gardener too, though, so it's
There's a fine line. There's a fine gray line between the two things. Question number 4. Which of the following is not a common factor affecting the cost of flower delivery? A, distance, B, time of day, C, phase of the moon, or D, flower type? Which of the following is not a common factor affecting the cost of flower delivery?
This might be a hot take, but I don't think the phase of the moon would affect my delivery. However, there's probably some astrologists out there that might argue with me.
There might be some risks involved in getting out and trying new things like delivery. And you are correct. The phase of the moon usually is not a common factor, at least. And now for question number 5. What is the term of the specialized refrigerated storage area used to keep flowers fresh before delivery? Is it A, cold room, B, floral freezer, C, petal fridge, or D, bloom chiller?
Oh, wow. I feel like all those names are good.
How do you call it in your business?
I usually just call it a cooler or a floral cooler, but I wouldn't call it a freezer because that would freeze the flowers. You said cold room, right?
Yes, I did.
Cold room is pretty good. And what was the last one?
Bloom chiller.
Room chiller or bloom chiller?
Yep.
I think I might have to take that. I like bloom chiller, but I think cold storage is probably the best one.
Cold room is the one that is like what we consider the official one. I'm going to take that as a right answer. And you win in the Floral Shop podcast game show. Congratulations, Trevor.
Nice. Very exciting. Thank you.
We're going to schedule a separate call where we show you what your website might look like after we study it and design a suggestion for you.
Awesome.
I want to thank you, Trevor Whalley, for participating in the podcast, and welcome everyone to check your website at fantasyfloral.com. We'll put the show notes in the show notes. We'll put the link to that and Trevor's bio and some details if you want to connect with Trevor.
One thing, we ended up changing our URL domain. So our main domain is now fantasyflorist.com. It's being worked on.
So by the time you're listening to this, you'll probably be able to find it at fantasyflorist.com. I want to thank you, Trevor, for participating in this. And thank you, everyone, for listening for yet another episode of the Floral Shop podcast. See you next week.
Thanks for tuning into the Floral Shop podcast. For more floral resources and stories, visit our website floralshoppodcast.com or step into our school at floralshopacademy.com. Don't forget to subscribe for our next flowery adventure. Keep blooming until we meet again.